Kick-Ass Witch, putting the K in magic. I'm Joanna DeVoe, and you're watching the first episode of Every Which Way of 2013. And this time, I am re-interviewing my friend Dawn. I interviewed her last year when her name was Dawn Larzier, but she's recently had a name change. She has gone back to her maiden name of Dawn Champine, Champine. Please forgive my pronunciation, it's French. But you probably know her as Miss Bliss Coach. And you may have seen her around on YouTube as Miss Bliss Coach, or you may have seen that interview last year. And I wanted her to be my first interview of 2013 because I really have had the Wheel of the Year on my mind. I worked all last year on a program that I wanted to present to you all, holiday 2012 on the Wheel of the Year, and it ended up getting pushed back until like fall 2013, but I need to talk about the Wheel of the Year. It's just on my mind. It's it's what I'm feeling right now, and I can't wait till next fall. So Dawn, she recently just put out 2 videos that I really love about the Wheel of the Year. One about the wheel in general, and another about Imbolc, which is the next holiday coming up. And I thought what she had to say was so right on and really accessible for everyone. And so I wanted to talk about that with her and talk about some ways that just about anybody could implement the Wheel of the Year into their life. So I think that this video is going to be especially fun, maybe even enlightening for someone who's never heard of the Wheel of the Year before. So if you have, maybe you want to share it with somebody who you want to introduce the Wheel of the Year to. I think it'd be really interesting or helpful for someone who is living a secular lifestyle, but maybe feeling like something's missing and wants to get more in touch with nature and their spiritual side, but is feeling very like allergic to religion. I totally relate, and in my opinion, the Wheel of the Year, it can, but it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with religion. It can really just stand on its own. It goes beautifully with an earth-based spirituality, but it can also just be a way of marking the time and marking the seasons and getting in touch with where you are with yourself at, certain times of the year and with what's going on around you. And I don't mean like what's going on in the news. I mean what's going on in the trees and on the earth and in the sky and in your own heart. So hopefully you enjoy this interview with Dawn, and let me know what ideas you have for the Wheel of the Year, or how you're going to be celebrating Imbolc this year, or whatever holiday is coming up for you by the time you get around to watching this. So here she is, my friend Dawn, Miss Bliss Coach. Hello, Dawn, and welcome to another episode of Every Which Way.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you're my first repeat interviewee, so I'm excited about that.
Yay!
And it's fitting because we have a little friendship going on behind the scenes, so it feels very homey and nice to have you here again.
I'm really happy to be here. I'm excited about the topic, and I just really love Kick-Ass Witch. I think you've created an awesome thing here, and I'm just happy to be here.
Awesome.
So thank you.
We have like a little mutual admiration society going here, because I'm loving your last 2 videos, especially, which is why I wanted to do this interview. I had been talking about this program I was going to launch called the Psycho-Spiritual Wheel of the Year. And I don't know, I just got overwhelmed, and so I dropped a couple of projects, and that one I postponed, and then here you are making these amazing videos and just taking the words right out of my mouth or my head, it kind of felt like, about the Wheel of the Year, and the stuff that you said was so right on, at least with the way that I feel about it. And I thought, as you do with all of your videos, I think it really bridges the world of like witchy folk and muggles in a really beautiful way. And you make these concepts accessible, to just regular folks, secular people, people that know nothing about magic or paganism. So can you just briefly tell us what the Wheel of the Year is?
Sure. I think I described it in my last video or whatever as it's a system of time interpretation that is made up or consists of two different cycles. And we have the seasonal cycles, which are otherwise known as the solstices and the equinoxes. Mm-hmm. You're going to have two of each, so 4 holidays there. Okay. And then interspersed in between those 4 astronomical events are the what was based on the ancient Celtic agrarian calendar. So appropriate dates for doing farming tasks. Mm-hmm. And so that's what it is. The 4 are those 4 dates along with the other 4 dates, the 8 points on the wheel comprise the entire Wheel of the Year. And it is something that many earth-based spiritualists follow.
Yeah, so. And just to even make it more simple for people that have never heard of it before, it's kind of like, I like to, I've kind of just made this up, but I kind of like it. I like to think of it as like spring transition, summer transition, fall transition, and it's just kind of taking you around in 6-week or so increments and chunking the year into little blocks of time that make it more digestible in a way. And I know for some people it's deeper than that. It's more spiritual and sacred and honoring the seasons. And I think to put that layer on top of it too makes it more special. And but I think that happens as you go along. I think that develops over time. How did you come to start celebrating the Wheel of the Year? Like, do you remember your first year?
I do, actually, but I want to say that it's rather intuitive. Because when I was a young child, I remember my stepmother, who is not pagan, who's very Lutheran, who raised us as Lutherans. Mm-hmm. She would always decorate for the seasons. And we had this, in our entryway, our little foyer, we had this little table that I like to say is an altar, but, she would not agree with those semantics at all. But, it would greet people as they walked in the door with a nice little seasonal display appropriate for whatever time of year it was. And she'd go to extremes in terms of changing out all the linens and the dish towels and, all the bathroom towels and stuff like that. And it's something that I rather enjoy. It kind of, I think as a child, it kind of connected me to, or grounded me to the changing seasons. Mm-hmm. That's when I first started picking up on the frequencies, if you will, of the different seasons. Mm-hmm. And then, as I became a young adult and left home and ventured into paganism and Wicca and witchcraft, imagine my surprise when I learned that this is something that many pagans already do. And so that's kind of when it started. I mean, honestly, really honing in on the details of the Wheel of the Year is something that I've only been practicing for about 5 years. Mm-hmm. Having been, around it and knowing what it is, it's something that I think back 20 years ago when my friends and I would sit around, and I remember one Mabon night we were just sitting around. Oh, today's Mabon. Oh, okay.
What's a Mabon?
Yeah. And interestingly enough, I remember that night a little kitten walked in through the door while we were sitting there, and so we named it Mabon. But that was the extent of what it was. It has become very much more meaningful to me as I get older, and it's just something that I kind of touched on in my video, The Wheel of the Year, Time Management for the Soul, in regards of, these are things that I've really been trying to reconnect with my roots, mm-hmm. Yeah, intended. But these are things that, perhaps my ancestors took part in. thousands of years ago. And it kind of gives me some kind of comfort in a way. And it's something that I can pass on to my own children. And we actively participate in the celebrations. And I have a couple of videos on my YouTube channel where, well, I don't know if they're still up. But anyway, like a Lunasaw video and maybe a Mabon, I'm not sure. But anyway, we have so much fun celebrating these holidays together. And it's something that it just gives me great joy to be able to pass on to my children. And so as we go, you know, each wheel of the year, as we go through another cycle, it just becomes more and more meaningful for me.
I so relate to what you were saying about your stepmom, because I come from the most Christian family, and my mom was like your stepmom. She decorated for all of the seasons, and then of course for all of, you know, the standard commercial holidays with the heavy Christian slant. And then in my teens, I just, you know, I kind of lost my religion, and then I became more of just an eclectically spiritual person. But along with that, I did lose part of what I loved in my childhood. With, you know, my mom, she made it so special. You really felt, you know, the changing year, and we'd come home from school and the whole house would be different, and it just felt exciting and electric. And when I found the Wheel of the Year, it was so moving to me. It almost makes me want to cry thinking about it, because I had lost that connection with my mom and my past, and it all just came back to me through this pagan Wheel of the Year, which she would hate. She would just hate that, you know, she would not understand it at all. But funny enough, it really connected me back again with that upbringing, and now I love it so much. And I think about my mom when I'm putting the decorations up, you know.
Right.
And it's great. How do you what kind of things do you do with your kids to, you know, make those memories for that next generation? Do you do craft projects or gardening? What kind of stuff do you guys do?
Yeah, it just kind of depends on the holiday, on the actual Sabbath that we're celebrating. But there's all different kinds of things that we can do. But for instance, like we're coming up on Emulk right now. And one of the fun activities, I belong to a coven. And so my coven and I will do our own ritual, but then the children of our coven members will make, like this year we're going to have them make butter, because dairy is, you know, associated with the season, or with this holiday. And it's a very simple thing. We just take heavy cream and we put it in a mason jar, and then each child gets to shake the jar, and, you know, it burns off a little bit of their energy, and they can infuse it with their own intent. And by the end of, you know, 15, 20 minutes of vigorous shaking, we have butter made by our kids. And so we can enjoy it on our cakes and ale, or, you know, whatever, our soda bread or whatever.
I love that idea. I've never heard that before. I want to be a kid in your house and do the butter. I want to do the butter ritual.
And it's a lot of fun. In our area, like I live right across the street from a dairy farm. Well, it's not a dairy farm. It's a pastured. It's a 40-acre meadow is what it is. So I sit in my living room and I look out at the cows in the pasture across the street from me. Mm-hmm. And they are just so, you know, the white snow and the black cows. And of course, dairy being thematic for this time of year, the kids and I will talk about that. And we'll talk about how, you know, the ancient cycles really serve as a good metaphor for our modern life. And a lot of times it is tied into the different tasks and things that we do on the farm, even though I'm not raised on a farm, you know. I don't know very many people that have been, but it serves as a great metaphor for me to explain to my kids on different things in life.
And the cow thing, I mean, that's beautiful that you live across from something like that, because my hometown where I'm from, Bakersfield, it's a little heartbreaking when we drive into town, because we have some of the biggest factory farming dairy farms. We call it Cowschwitz, and now there's 2, and they're like concentration camps for cows. And it's huge. It's massive, and you can smell it from miles away, and you just feel the sadness when you drive through it. It's really awful. And I think the Wheel of the Year is important because it gets us back in touch with nature and who we are as humans and our relationship to nature and cows. And it helps you. I mean, it's just so relevant in this time when we've industrialized everything and denatured ourselves so completely and separated ourselves from our humanity and the planet we live in, to the point where we can have like concentration camps for animals and not feel anything when we're driving through that stink. I mean, I think that's why something like the Wheel of the Year can be relevant for even just secular people that don't consider themselves spiritual, for anybody. I think we're all spiritual creatures, but it can help us get in touch with that. And I think it's beautiful to hand that down to your kids.
Yeah. Well, it is. And actually what you're saying here about even if you aren't a spiritual person, a secular person can walk the path of the Wheel of the Year, because these are things that, we can't really separate ourselves from the macrocosm of the frequencies that exist. I kind of look at it as kind of an energetic flow throughout the seasons, and everybody is impacted by it, whether no matter what your spiritual beliefs are, whether you have them or not. So really, by denying the existence, or I guess not paying attention to those frequencies, or noticing the subtle changes that occur within your environment or throughout the seasons, I think that it brings on a dis-ease within ourselves individually, and as well as the greater society. And I just really feel that, the more I continue to walk this path, I feel the interconnectedness of everything that is. And so from my own personal experience, I feel that this is something that you don't have to be one way or another in order to benefit from. And in fact, if more people did pay attention or walk the Wheel of the Year, I think we would see a lot of, discomfort erased within our society. You
talked about our circadian rhythms and stuff like that, and it is so natural. Can you explain that to us and how the seasons affect us throughout the year a little bit? Just building on what you're saying now.
Well, part of the holistic healing practices that I offer in my practice are sound and light services. And one of the things that I've really noticed with clients is that around about this time of year, the dead of winter, for those of us in the northern hemisphere, a lot of people might be complaining of seasonal affective disorder. And a seasonal affective disorder is it's a condition in which doctors think that it is the lack of sunlight that affects your mood, your overall behavioral attitude. And I just in my own practice, I've noticed that it may not be just simply the lack of sunlight during the winter months that contribute to this, but also maybe an overabundance of unnatural light. And so, or less than full spectrum light. So one of the first things that I will ask a client is, how do you spend your day? And the answers to that will reveal a lot in terms of the attitudes they have, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but just their beliefs towards noticing their own circadian rhythms and what they do throughout the day and how they choose to spend their time. And so oftentimes, like during winter, right now, we'll see a lot of people who are suffering from the effects of seasonal affective disorder, but are sitting up late, until midnight with the overhead lights on all night, staring at the computer or watching TV. And all of these light sources are affecting your seasonal biology, if you will. And it is having an impact on your circadian rhythms. So one of the tips that I like to offer is, dim the lights and just follow as naturally or as closely as you can the natural light cycles. And not just throughout winter, but also through summer too. Mm-hmm. You'll find that you have more energy. You'll reset your sleep cycles. Your metabolism will start to balance out. And it does take a little bit of time, but, these are things happening on the microcosmic level.
And on a physical level.
Yeah, on the physical. That's the individual.
Mm-hmm. And it's mind, body, spirit. And what you're talking about it's a real physical thing that happens to us as humans. It has nothing to do with metaphor or, it can definitely affect your emotions. That's for sure. But I think it is a mind, body, spirit thing. Can you explain too a little bit, if you don't mind, how it comes into play, maybe spiritually, like how the symbolism takes you through the wheel in terms of maybe goal setting or just giving yourself a break sometimes when things start to kind of rise and get a little hectic during the holidays?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, each holiday is steeped in its own tradition and lore, its own mythology. And these are stories that have been passed down to us over, thousands of years from our ancestors. And I think collectively pulled together to represent each of the holidays. For instance, Imbolc, which is coming up here on the 1st or 2nd, depending on which tradition you celebrate. It's all about inspiration. It's all about reawakening. It's all about, as I like to determine it, is all about declaring your own sovereignty, revisiting things that have happened in the past and deciding for yourself whether they still hold sway or not, and choosing what to take with you into the future. And you see that particular theme quite a bit throughout the wheel. But I think that using these different metaphors associated with each of the holidays can really help to propel us towards achieving our goals in life. And one of the other things is that even though, these holidays are based on an agrarian calendar, again, going back to the farmland or to the farm, they do serve as good metaphors for how to achieve different things throughout life or let go of different things or, whatever the season entails. So by paying attention to the mythologies that are associated with each holiday, you can take those metaphors and apply them to your personal life and just kind of walk through the year using the natural forces or the natural energies that are already present to help you, I like to say, find life balance.
Yeah.
So
I think the symbolism goes to beyond the myths, the mythology, just in following the agricultural year. Just, now is a time where spring is starting to show up for some of us. For some of us, it's still kind of underground, but even underground, the seeds are starting to wake up. And I think, after a long, cold winter, that's happening for us too on a spiritual level. You start to feel your energy coming up. You want to do some spring cleaning and clearing out, and you can kind of do that in your relationships, what's working, what's not, and your job, what's working and what's not. And I like that. I feel like a lot of the mythology kind of follows that track, and takes us on that journey. I've only recently gotten into that. I didn't really get it at first. I was like not feeling the old god and goddess stories at all, but once I understood it from an archetypal perspective and the symbolism of it, I saw how it really tied together.
Right. And I get that a lot actually from different people. Not only is it, why do you follow an agrarian calendar, but why do you pay into these stories of deity, And yeah, you really do have, I feel, personally, I approach it from an archetypal perspective. Just like anything else, that can provide rich symbolism to help you understand and navigate through life.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, there are different things that are not associated with deity that are attached to some of the holidays on the Wheel of the Year. So, for instance, again, with Imbolc, we have Groundhog's Day, which we celebrate in America. And it's just fascinating to think of the evolution of how we got from a sun goddess awakening of spring to the groundhog. How does that tie in?
It is an ancient.
But again,
it's an ancient thing. It wasn't always groundhog. I just learned this from Ellen Dugan, one of my favorite authors. It used to be hedgehogs in Europe, and it was like an old pagan thing where, if he would see his shadow, there was going to be 6 more weeks of winter, and if not, there wasn't. And so we stole it, like we do everything.
Right?
And totally to go off on a tangent, I have a little ritual of watching Groundhog Day every time at this year. It's an awesome movie with amazing spiritual lessons. It's a great screenplay if you watch it. It really, I know it's a funny, cute, romantic comedy, but it has a lot of cool underlying messages. So I highly recommend that people go rent that movie for Imbolc. Watch it with your family. It might surprise you if you look beyond the surface.
That is so funny. I love that movie.
It's awesome. It's all about, how... Yes, but only when he learns, only when he changes, does his day finally change and his life finally change. He has to change first. I think that's awesome. I know I just took us off on a whole funny ride there, but...
Well, no, actually, and the whole groundhog thing, actually, I read recently, too, that the ancient Greeks believed that an animal's shadow was its soul. And their belief was that if an animal emerged from hibernation too early and saw its shadow, it would have to go back and hibernate some more to purify itself.
Oh, okay.
And so somehow along the lines, so anyway, that's another take on the whole groundhog thing. So the movie Changing Yourself, and I think it's a beautiful metaphor for work. So
you cut out for what? I'm sorry. A metaphor for what?
Oh, for shadow work.
Oh, yes. Okay, so it's a metaphor for like the shadow work. Maybe you started shadow work during Halloween or Samhain, which is the, I like to call that the fall transition, and now we're in the spring transition, and we're transitioning into spring. So maybe it is a great time to wrap up some of that shadow work that you started, or just to, take it to the next level.
Exactly.
Do you have any tips, rituals, practices that you do around this time that revolve around shadow work?
I do.
That you care to share?
I do. I've been doing a lot of that, actually.
Yeah.
But I would like to share, a couple of things that I do like to do are more, I guess, on the energetic level. Mm-hmm. So, like, for instance, I'm doing an early spring cleaning of my home and of myself. And, oh my gosh, what you can't see beyond my camera here is that my boxes have been pulled out from the basement, mm-hmm. and I'm clearing through them. But yeah, so that will happen, and then come this weekend, I'll do an energetic cleansing, and I like to use what I call a Breed's Flame, and that's just a name that I've given it. It's a white hot, almost, or purple hot flame fire that I use to energetically cleanse my home.
Oh, how does that work? Do you just burn it, or do you like carry it around your home? How does that work? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I should probably do a video on that.
Yes.
Actually.
Yes, definitely.
It's a flame carry it around the house and you just, disperse the stagnant energy and give it back to source so that it can be regenerated into something new. And yeah, I think I'll do a video on that. I never thought about that before. But anyway, so I like to do that. And then I do, like some people, actually, I have a besom that I keep, but it's more symbolic. It's just a wall hanging, really, more symbolic than anything. But some people will use a besom to sweep out the old, and bring in the new.
That's a broom.
Sorry.
I'm just trying to make this like friendly for everyone. So,
right.
because all our witchy friends, they know the Wheel of the Year. They know what a besom is. They know. So I feel like it's nice to bring everyone in and introduce these concepts. So.
Well, here's one that everyone can participate in that I just really thoroughly enjoy. Where I live, I so am blessed with the natural abundance of natural hot springs all over the place. And so there's a couple around the area that are pretty close by, and a couple of my friends and I will be heading out to the natural hot springs later this week to just soak in them and just really, think about the theme of the season and just purify and relax and enjoy the time. But if you don't have access to natural hot springs, sitting in your hot tub or going to your local gym and using the sauna there or the hot tub there is a good choice, a good option. Or you can even just do an Epsom salt candlelit bath in your home. And all of those things they just work wonders on your psyche to just, uplift and rejuvenate you. So those are some of my suggestions.
Those are great tips. I hate house cleaning, actually. Let me rephrase that. I hate house cleaning, and I feel like it's like shoveling snow before it stops snowing. It's like never done kind of thing. So, I'm a housewife and I run my own business from my home. So normally I'm just like dreading the housework, but something about this time of year, especially since I've been working with the Wheel of the Year, I just get the itch to clean. And especially this year, I don't know, spring has started showing itself early. So I've been like, taking out the boxes, like you said, and the dust and the spider webs. I have a really old house and it accumulates spider webs so quickly. It's a witchy old house, complete with cobwebs. And then Epsom salts, too, that it goes beyond symbolism. That actually draws impurities from our bodies, so that's a beautiful thing to do. Maybe at the end of your spring cleaning, you kind of get rid of all of that yuck for yourself in your own body.
Exactly. And, and the point is not to be overwhelmed either. It's, if you don't feel like doing housework or doing a spring cleaning or, whatever, just do something. Clean a drawer or maybe a closet or, put your,
change your shirt.
I don't know, your bookshelf. Yeah.
Just wipe your armpits down, change your shirt, and throw down a green smoothie. Sorry, I don't know. I'm in a goofy mood today. I'm not trying to make light of what you say. I actually really appreciate all your ideas. I think they're great.
No, I love to laugh too. That's an excellent energetic, debris cleanser is to laugh. Of course, I would say that, but
yeah, let's tell people, for those who missed our first interview.
For yoga.
Yes, you are a yoga laughter expert. Let's wrap this up. Let's tell people what you do for anyone who missed that last interview that we did. And I'll link to it down below too so they can check that out. What is laughter yoga?
Laughter yoga it's mostly pranayama. We do a lot of breath work, but in my sessions, I will infuse it with laughter exercises. We don't spend enough time getting silly. I think that we could laugh a little bit more, and we're already breathing, but we need to, I guess when you come into one of my sessions, what what I will do is allow you the opportunity and the space to get silly and laugh to your heart's content. And throughout all of that, we do a couple of pranayama or breathing exercises, maybe a few yoga asanas, but not so much focused on that as we are breath work and laughter. And by the end of a session, usually it's about 45 minutes long. At the end of a session, your countenance has changed. You're just a completely different person. So
what do? You just get up in front of those people and just do what? Like, how would you introduce, the laughing to the group? Do you have an exercise you do?
Yeah. If you want to participate with me right now?
Yes, I am your willing student.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's just do the basic. Okay. Take a deep breath in and raise your hands to the air. So, and hold it and exhale. And we'll go one more time. Inhale. On the exhale, laugh.
Oh my gosh, that just makes you laugh. I think I got a little stomach cramp on that first, does everybody, that must make the whole room laugh, because once one person laughs, it's sort of contagious. You keep it going.
Exactly.
My face is red.
Aww. We're not used to being silly, so it makes it's an awesome thing. If you can find one in your area, I highly recommend it. Do it. I do a little bit of laughter coaching in person and on Skype, and that's always a blast. But it's one of those things that it will, you just change. You just feel different at the end of a session, and it's positive, and it just increases your energy level. Just so many different things. Beneficial.
It reminds me of how psychologists, they've proven this scientifically. They will say that even if you feel like crap and you're in a horrible, horrible mood, to fake smile, just put a smile on your face, and the biological action of that actually has a reaction in your body and literally changes your mood. So I'm sure laughing just takes that up 10 notches.
It does. It really does. And that's one of the premises of laughter yoga is fake it until you make it.
Nice. That's a good motto. Okay, well, it was so fun talking to you. I don't know. I could sit here really and talk about the Wheel of the Year forever because it's still fairly new to me. It's been a few years in, but once you get more into it, it gets deeper and deeper and more exciting, and you start looking forward to holidays that you didn't even know about, however many years before, and Imbolc is one of those holidays. Can you leave us with one special little tip or craft or something that people could do this Friday? Is Friday Imbolc? I know it as being from sundown on February 1st to sundown on February 2nd. Is that what you celebrate?
Yes, that's me personally. There's a lot of different holidays kind of thrown in there, many different traditions, so kind of based on your own tradition. There's all those variances, but that's what I do. And then, of course, the actual solar date, because it is based on the sun's position in the sky, is 15 degrees Aquarius, and for 2013, that will be actually February 5th. So anytime within that time period works. But let's see, one of the things that is really, this is a very good time of year to buy seeds, to start thinking about planting a garden. And I think you mentioned that in your newsletter about getting your garden planted. So I think if you have access to snow, one of the good things you can do as you plant the seeds is to use the first water on your seeds comes from melted snow in your area. So if you can do that. I know not everybody, you're in Southern California, so you can't do that, huh?
No.
Rainwater work.
Sometimes I hear other people talking about snow, and it seems very romantic and wonderful, but I am a true California girl and a weather wuss. I have like a very like limited range of like comfort level with the temperatures. So I'm happy to be in the sun, and I'll make some cutout paper doily snowflakes if I'm missing it. Watch some YouTube videos. You can make icicles. I learned from Kate Johnson, I think, does this thing where you write something you want to get rid of, something stagnant that's bothering you in your life. You write it on a piece of paper, and then you roll the paper into like a cone shape, and you freeze it in your freezer. You tie the paper up with a piece of string, and then you freeze it in your freezer, and then you can hang it up outside like an icicle. And if you live in the snow, it'll, melt and freeze and melt and freeze. And then by the time it's fully melted, you can take the paper down. And if you use non-permanent markers, what you have written will have changed completely and transformed into like a really pretty like watercolor. It'll look like a little piece of art. And I thought that was a really
beautiful.
Yeah, isn't that a neat ritual? It's from a book called something Kitchen Witch, maybe. Kate Johnson is the author, and I love that ritual. So I was gonna try it this year. I don't know how well it'll work in sunny California. My icicle will be like melting within the first 30 minutes, but I'm gonna give it a shot.
Right. Fast change.
Yes. We're hip to the fast change here in Los Angeles, Okay, Dawn, it was awesome getting to talk to you again. Maybe we'll get to do this again one day, and we'll make a little tradition of it.
Sounds great. Anytime, Joanna, anytime.
All right.
It's always a pleasure.
Much love. Peace.